I understand you were angry. The question is not whether he should be granted a restraining order. I don't have to deal with that. I have to deal with the fact that in the text messages, you make certain threats. What if I could? And all that transpired at a time when the defendant reconciled with his wife and family. So, as I said, as a result of reading your text messages, I believe that Mr. Hall had the right to feel threatened and to file for a restraining order. Whether the court that heard the application for a restraining order felt that your behavior warranted a restraining order is another thing. But I can understand why he would file a restraining order to try to keep you away from him and his family.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Great. Now I want you to tell me why you forged her name to checks.
Because she...
$8,800 worth of checks. Now you had the right to file a restraining order.
Because she asked me to do this.
Because she asked you to forge her name to the checks.
Yes.
Okay, I want you to tell me when the first time she asked you to forge her name to a check. And I assume, just like you've kept all these documents.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a document to show me, just one. Because if you show me one, I would tend to think that there were more. So just show me one where she said to you, forge my name to a check.
Okay.
Take the money out and forge my name to a check. Don't say anything. Just show me. Don't shake your head. It's annoying.
I believe this is the first one.
Okay. So in that one, she asks you to sign. Well, maybe. What are you showing me?
The check.
See the check? You know how you kept these text messages that you texted back and forth and back and forth? I want you to show me, because you're methodical, one time out of the 6, 7 times that you forged her name to checks, show me one time where she said to you in a text message, in an Instagram, in a pigeon note, where she said to you, take out a check from my checkbook and forge my name to it because I want you to have money. Just show me.
I don't have
Of course
something
not.
like that, no.
Of course not.
I don't.
Now, the first time you forged her name to a check was what month and year?
I believe that it was December 9th.
Of 2021.
Yes, ma'am.
And what were you and Miss Rapp engaged in at that time that she told you to forge her name to a check?
Okay, so I'm an electrician, and I've been an electrician for 13 years. I've been doing side work all around my county, and there's a handful of liquor stores that trust me that I can go and cash personal checks that I get paid for doing my side work. Miss Rapp knew that, and...
Don't tell me what she knew.
Okay, all right. So she would be locked out of her account for one reason or the other. And she would ask me, like on a Friday, she wouldn't be able to get access to her money. And I knew she had money.
Well, she couldn't get access to her money, so these weren't your checks you wrote out. You wrote out her checks. It'd be frozen out whether you went to take out money or she went to take out money.
Right. Also, on a Friday, the liquor store would not deposit these checks until Monday. So I cashed these checks for her to give her cash.
Did you ever have sex with the plaintiff?
No.
Do you think she wanted to have a relationship with you?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know.
What makes you think so?
Well, the
text message.
The text message.
The text message that she said to you. And who is Robert?
Is her ex-boyfriend.
And do you know Robert?
I do.
How do you know Robert?
I've known Robert for 20 years. Been friends.
And when did you start doing work for the plaintiff? Before or after Robert? Is not an answer.
It was after.
It was after.
Yes.
Okay. Give me an idea of when. You've cashed the first check in December of 2021. Give me some idea of when you were aware of the fact that the plaintiff and your dear friend of 20 years were no longer an item. Is not.
No, what month he was arrested?
Arrested for?
June, maybe?
Arrested for?
I don't know his charges.
I don't believe that.
Okay.
I want to see only with those forged checks, you would have put the money in her Venmo account.
Your Honor, I don't see where I have the ones that I deposited in her account. These seem to all be her depositing into my account.
Duh. You were happy she left?
No, ma'am.
You wanted her to stay?
No, ma'am.
Then you were happy she left?
No.
Then you're a masochist. Somehow you want to live with somebody. You want to live with somebody who's messy, floods your apartment, weren't a good fit, and yet you were happy with that.
Leslie Rapp claims her former friend and handyman, Brandon Hall, forged her checks and filed a false restraining order against her. Brandon says he had Leslie's permission to write the checks.
I'm just telling you, I don't believe that you don't know the charges of somebody who you were friendly with for 20 years. I don't believe that you don't know, because it belies credulity, okay?
That's fine.
So before your dear friend of 20 years was arrested, did you ever cash any checks for her?
No.
After Robert was arrested? Yes. Did you ever do any work for her before Robert was arrested?
No.
When did you and your wife separate? Month and year?
Maybe February of 21.
And were you still together with Robert in February of 2021?
Yes.
And when did you and the lovely Robert separate?
Robert was removed from my life August 11th of 21.
The defendant acknowledges in his answer that he forged your name, not only your name, your signature, but wrote out checks, actually wrote out in his own handwriting, checks in the amount of $8,800.
Yes.
And he acknowledges that, but he says they were because you asked him to, or it was for work he did for you. Those were your answers, right?
No, these checks were not for any jobs that I did for her. They were strictly to get access to some of her money during the weekends and stuff. And then when she was out of town as well.
Get her access to her money and when she was out of town.
When she was out of town,
if you cashed her checks when she was out of town, how did she get money?
I Venmo'd the money to her.
Okay, so that you have a record of, that you Venmo'd the money to her.
Yes.
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it.
Here you go. Here's all the Venmo deposits. Her sending me
To
money.
her. No, not, just a second. Try not to confuse me. I'm an old person. I want to see only the monies, because she's going to show me the checks that you forged. And contemporaneously, which is a close period of time, with those forged checks, you would have put the money in her Venmo account.
On a couple of different occasions, yes.
Just a second. Just show me those cases. She's going to take out the checks that you forged. And those checks should coincide date-wise with the Venmo transactions. Am I doing that right?
Venmo.
Yeah.
Venmo.
Yes.
Your Honor, I don't see where I have the ones that I deposited in her account. These seem to all be her depositing into my account.
Duh.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I do have.
So let us understand this, Ms. Rapp. Did you ever give him permission? The answer is yes or no.
No.
Did you file a police report?
Yes, I did.
You did. I'd like to see a copy of the police report.
I haven't.
Then we're in good shape. Mr. Hall, how many weekly payments did you make to her on Friday?
I have a list of that from.
From February.
This is from Mrs. Rapp in.
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you, how many payments did you make for writing these unauthorized checks to her?
Seven.
And what was the total amount of those checks?
$3,700.
Why in the world would you pay her $3,700?
If you could look in those messages, I was being. She was saying she was going to put me in jail for doing things.
For forgery.
Okay.
For forgery.
Right.
And you asked her not to.
Right.
And you said, I'll pay you back.
Right.
Right. I'll pay you back. Just give me some time. I have 2 kids to support.
Right.
Is that what you said to her?
Yes.
$8,800 judgment for the plaintiff. We're done here.
Is adjourned.
Well, I'm happy about the outcome because
I think it's bogus, man.
I really need the money.
Because she started all this craziness as soon as I went back to my wife.
There was never a relationship between the two of us.
After that, when she started doing all this, is when I went and filed for a restraining order.
He did that as a direct retaliation for the police report I filed.
She's gonna have to call somebody else for sure.
It's definitely time for a new handyman.
Just a casual note.
Yeah.
I have been with my husband, your grandfather, for almost 50 years. And we each have our bank account, and then we have a joint bank account. I have never either asked him or given him permission to sign my signature to a check.
Yep.
He hasn't never asked or given me permission to sign on one of his checks. Now, we may ask each other, listen, it's busy, I'm going to go through these checks. We're making all these checks out to the doorman and to Christmas time and whatever, and then I'll sign them. Just doesn't happen. So
Doesn't make sense.
Right. And so what it is to any job that you do, whether it's a lawyer or a judge, you bring with you your own common sense and your own life's history. I hope that that works, because I cannot imagine somebody saying, write out a check for yourself. I don't know you, we're not involved, we're not married, go help yourself to a check and write it out. I can't imagine.
Case number 2029, McCrae versus Onwaka. All parties, please step forward.
Brittany McCrae is suing her former roommate, Lulu Onawaka, for a rental deposit, moving costs, and lost wages.
Miss McCrae, you were looking for a room, and you rented a room in defendant's apartment. It didn't work out. You were unhappy. She was unhappy. You moved out. And now you want return of rent, deposit, moving costs, lost wages, and emotional distress. She also said, didn't work out. We didn't like each other. It just wasn't a good fit. So you were happy she left. That's either a yes or a no. You were happy she left.
No, ma'am.
You weren't happy you wanted her to stay.
No, ma'am.
Then you were happy she left.
No, ma'am, I wasn't happy she left.
Oh, let me see. Let's see. Okay, this is what you say. Brittany, that would be you.
Yes.
This is your answer. Was messy, played loud music, brought friends in unannounced, damaged the washing machine which flooded our apartment, and without consent offered to adopt someone's dog. After that, I let her know we weren't a good fit and would not be renewing her lease.
No.
Now, that's what you said.
We'll not be renewing the lease for the
No,
apartment.
no, no. Doesn't matter. I just read you something. I read you your answer. Sound somebody that was happy with their roommate?
I define happiness for myself. I've lived in co-living where I've had to live with people I do not like.
What?
And make it work is what I'm trying to say. So
No.
that wasn't the
No.
issue.
The damage she's referring to was actually me attempting to change the locks on the door.
Lock
I was
on the
trying
door.
to change the lock because during my time away, all of my belongings were still in the property.
Did you damage the door?
Brittany McCrae claims her former roommate, Lulu Onawaka, owes for a rental deposit, moving costs, and lost wages. Lulu is countersuing for property damage and storage fees.
Brittany was messy, played loud music, brought friends in unannounced. She damaged the washing machine, flooded the apartment, and without my consent offered to adopt someone's dog. After that, I let her know we weren't a good fit and wouldn't be renewing the lease. That's what you wrote. Do you want me to show that to you?
No, you are right, and that is what I wrote.
Absolutely. Well, then I don't know why you have a passive-aggressive attitude, because I'm the only one who's passive-aggressive. Then you were happy she left.
No.
Okay, well, you're ridiculous. Then you're a masochist. Somehow you want to live with
Probably
somebody.
I am.
You want to live with somebody who's messy, loud, floods your apartment, weren't a good fit, and yet you were happy with that. And I don't have to define happiness.
Yes.
I know that if I lived with somebody who was messy, sometimes loud,
Okay, so issues
he
on.
broke the dishwasher and flooded the apartment because they put regular soap instead of dishwashing soap into the apartment, then it sort of bubbles all over. Now, unless I was either married to that person or they were one of my family, I wouldn't be happy with them. If I had a tenant like that, I would say, oh my God, what did I get myself into? I want out of this.
Okay.
But you were happy.
No, I wasn't. I stand on that.
Okay, then you weren't happy.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's what I asked you. You could have dramatics. All right, so there we go. You were living in a room.
Yes,
You paid a month's rent.
I did.
Okay, how much rent did you pay?
I paid $1,300 and a $300 deposit.
And you lived there for about a month.
I lived there for 26 days.
And things didn't work out. You had a big argument with her back and forth. And as a matter of fact, according to you, you left for a couple of days.
I did.
Yes, because you were unhappy there and felt threatened, felt uncomfortable, whatever
Very
it
much
was.
so.
So you left for a couple of days. And when you came back, what was your intention when you came back?
So
No, look, not so. Look at me. You left because you were unhappy. You came back. What was your intention when you came back?
I never left because I was unhappy. I left because I was evicted from the property by the defendant.
Just a second. So you didn't leave the apartment after this disagreement?
Yes,
You did?
I did.
Okay. Where did you go?
I actually stayed with my friend.
So you left.
Yes,
On what date?
I left on June 1st.
You left the residence and stayed with your friend.
Yes,
And you stayed with your friend after the argument.
yes.
Why?
am able to provide some backstory on
I don't need any backstories. I'm just trying to get to why.
I'm able to provide some backstory on
I don't need any backstories. I'm just trying to get to a mindset of why the two of you think that you have a lawsuit against each other. Why do you bother wasting your own time, wasting precious court time when you weren't happy in the apartment, you paid for a month's rent. Certainly, you're entitled to your security back if you cause no damage to the apartment. You lived there practically a month, and you're not entitled to any more money because she didn't give you 30 days' notice because you were just as happy that
She had abandoned properties.
What?
She had abandoned properties.
Okay.
She damaged the door, and I lost my deposit as well because of that.
Just a second. Damaged what door?
So,
No, just not so.
Okay.
Damaged what door? That's a door. An outer door, a door to her room?
yes.
The door to her room?
Yes, she did that.
I have a photograph of the damage.
Yes,
I'd
I
like
do.
to see it.
Please bear with me. I'm going to find it quickly.
The damage she's referring to was actually me attempting to change the locks on the door. I left. I had been informed by the
Just a
defendant.
second. So you acknowledge the door was damaged while you were trying to change the lock
I
on
was
the
trying
door?
to change the lock because during my time away, all of my belongings were still in the property. Correct?
Listen to me. Did you damage the door?
No. The doorknob was removed, but the door is not damaged.
The lock was removed.
The lock was removed.
All right, I'd
so
like
that
to see.
The defendant would no longer have access to my room, to which she actually did into my room while I was away.
Okay.
I left because the defendant actually informed me that I would need to get out by that date. After requesting a full month of rent, despite me not having even lived in the property for the original month of rent that I had paid for.
I don't care. Unless you can show me the damaged door and how much it was to repair it, and I want to see how much it was to repair it.
I don't have how much it was, but here is the lease agreement, and we paid $2,900 to be here for the security deposit.
Oh, she just took this out. That's nonsense. That's
Ma'am,
nothing.
I wasn't still able to get my deposit
Nothing.
back.
The
I
agreement
got
that I...
$1,700 back.
Understand this.
Okay.
This is not down, please.
I don't have them, and I didn't know what to get together.
Okay, I'd like to see what pictures you have, sir.
Yeah. This is the 30-day notice that I've given them, and those are the pictures where she damaged.
Miss Carter, sometime after June of this year, did you place dogs in this fenced-in open space in cages?
Yes.
Loud. You hear the way I'm talking?
Yes.
And how many dogs did you place in the cages?
At that time, it was 7.
7 adult dogs.
No, there's 3 adults and 4 puppies or 5.
How old were the puppies?
They were 6 months, 5 or 6 months.
Who did the dogs belong to?
Me.
So all those dogs.
Well,
Judge, let's get it right the first time. This is not going to get easier. This is going to get harder, Miss Carter. So the 7 dogs that you stop playing with your papers. The 7 dogs that you placed in the cages were your dogs.
mine's my sister's and another friend.
How many were yours? You had 4 pit bulls. Mm-hmm. Were your 4 pit bulls there?
Yes.
Yes, that's a yes. So you're 4. Your sister has 2 pit bulls. Were her... Look at me. Your sister has 2 pit bulls. Were her 2 pit bulls there?
Yes.
So that's 6. And somebody else had 1. Mm-hmm. Who was the person who had 1?
They're not here. It's a friend. We were watching their dog. They
okay,
have a
so
dog.
you put your 4 pit bulls, your sister's 2 pit bulls, and a friend's pit bull in 2 cages.
No.
How many cages?
There are 4 cages, but...
Okay. I'd like to see pictures of the
Here you
4
go.
cages. There you go.
And that's just to separate them.
Your Honor, when she
By
first-
6.
Shh. Just a second. Prior to meeting the defendant, where did you keep your 4 pit bulls?
In the yard at my home.
Was it in the backyard that you kept the 4 pit bulls?
Yeah, they had space in the backyard, but they stayed in the house. And then when it's time to do their thing, they go outside. They stayed in the house in the living room.
So they were house dogs?
Yes.
And what about your 2 pit bulls?
I stayed in the front house. They stayed in the house with me.
On what date did you bring your pit bulls to the yard? June 4th?
June 6th.
6/6. And you paid him for a month. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yes.
How much did you pay him for the month?
$500.
And the 3 puppies that were 6 months old, what did you intend to do with those?
We had people that wanted them. We were supposed to
Wait,
move.
just a second. Were they yours or hers? Who did the 3 puppies belong to?
Me.
They belong to you. So don't speak for her.
Okay.
Good.
I've been speaking
Now,
for
just
all
a
my
sec.
life.
I don't care what you've been doing all your life. Right now, I'm getting answers to someone who may or may not be swift enough or savvy enough not to tell me the truth. Have more than 7 dogs in the yard.
No.
Okay. So this is what I'm sort of confused about. Of the 7 dogs that you kept in his yard, 6 of them were pit bulls that belonged to you. And what you're suing him for is, you say, because of him, you lost your kennel business where you want, well, that's what it says here. You lost your kennel business.
Daycare.
What?
It's a
a dog
daycare.
daycare.
It's a daycare.
There's no dog daycare. They were your dogs.
No, we were supposed to be inside. We were only supposed to be outside for a week. The business is a business, like you said. It has a storefront. It has a middle section. The storefront is where we take the small dogs. When you come in, we'll greet you, assess it, bring in the small dogs. If you have bigger dogs, he has a middle section. We were supposed to split the building in half.
And he never
He
split.
never cleaned the inside of the building. We had to go in there, power wash it ourselves. We bought our own paint. We were only supposed to be outside for 2 weeks until his people cleaned the inside for us.
Okay. Is that what you were supposed to do?
No, Your Honor, they are lying.
Okay.
The building was a motorcycle shop. They ain't brought no paint. They ain't cleaned nothing in it. It's still not clean.
Okay.
And
Were
they
just a
didn't
second.
have no money.
Just a second. How much in total did they give you for rent?
$500.
Is that correct?
Yes.
For the first
Just a
month.
second. Did you give them any more than $500?
No.
Did you have any other dogs other than your 6 dogs and somebody else's 1 pit bull ever on the premises?
No.
No, don't speak. I'm speaking to her. So whatever business you were, your investment in this business was $500.
No. I worked for him May 25th to June 1st. I cleaned out 25 refrigerators.
I don't care. That's not in here.
That
So I
was
don't-
a pay. Yes, it is.
She ain't work for me.
Just a second.
I sent it to you guys.
Just a second. Miss Carter, there is absolutely nothing here that says that you work for him and he owes you for that.
Well,
Let me tell you what your complaint states. Your complaint says money owed for sabotaging a business, vet bills because one of your dogs was injured, and
I'm not saying-
actual and punitive damages for assault. That's what your claim is.
I'm just saying that I cleaned those appliances.
I
He
don't-
said that that was a payment for rent. So that was for the second month of rent. It was
lying, Your Honor.
$500.
Just a second.
He was supposed to pay me every day, but I just told him to put
I
it
don't-
towards the rent.
Okay.
And that's what we agreed to. So
okay,
the
fine.
first month and the second month was paid for.
Listen to me. My question is simple.
Yes. Sorry.
There's only one attitude here, madam. Stand up. Are your dogs still there?
Some of them.
Get them off his property.
Why is
It's
that?
not
It's
his
over.
property.
Very easy. You want to keep dogs in a cage like this? I can't control that. I am certainly not putting a judicial imprimatur on keeping dogs, and I don't care what breed they are, in cages in a backyard. So what I'm telling you this is you have 24 hours to get your dogs off that property. Get them off. He's going to get an order from a marshal. And if your dogs aren't off that property, they're going to the pound.
So
do you
why is that-
understand?
why is that?
I want you to
Why?
understand. I want you to understand my order, because now we're in August. You started this whole process in June. I'm finishing it before it gets too mucky. Get your dogs off the property. We understand each other?
Why is that?
Why? What did we do? We paid. We
like
did
the
everything.
No,
we
no.
were
You
supposed
paid
to
him
do.
for 1 month in June.
But we
You
worked
paid
for
him. You paid him in 1 month in June. We are now in August. This is a marriage that's not going to go well. Get your dogs off his property, and then you don't have to deal with them
not
anymore.
his
I don't.
property,
It's not
ma'am.
his
Do you
property.
do you
His
understand?
It's not his
No,
property.
I
you
don't
want-
understand.
You-
You don't understand
then
that
if it's
not
not his property, then what are you suing him for?
We're
Because
suing-
he's the one who stabbed me.
Oh, just
And
a
he's the
second.
one who-
Just a second. So if we're eliminating money owed for sabotaging a business, and if you're suing him for assault, then I'll hear your assault. Then I don't have to hear any of the things about the dogs. So all I'm going to hear about is the assault. Tell me what happened. You were assaulted. That's what you want to tell me.
Yes, July 5th, we had came. My witness, if she could speak, she had
No, she wasn't assaulted, right?
Yes.
Okay.
She was assaulted first, actually. She's the first one he swung on.
Okay. Step up. July 5th. Your name is what?
Priscilla Walker.
You don't own any of these dogs, do you?
No, ma'am.
What were you doing on the property on the 5th of July?
I sometimes go and help them with the dogs, clean up and feed the dogs.
And those dogs that were there, they were there for at least a month from June 4th to July 5th.
Correct.
They're 6 pit bulls.
Correct.
Right? That used to be, according to them, in the backyard or in their homes, right?
Correct.
Okay, now, Priscilla, I want you to look at me, and they're your friends, right? So you went over to help them.
Yes.
I want you to tell me what it is that caused them to take these house dogs, dogs that were in their homes and in their backyard if they had to relieve themselves, don't speak, and move them into cages in a backyard in a commercial building. I want you to tell me that.
Your Honor, that wasn't the intent. They moved the dogs for a bigger space because they're entrepreneurs and they wanted to start a business.
Just a second, it's not their business. Business is starting a business with somebody else's dogs, not your dogs. They wanted to start a doggy, uncross your arms. They wanted to start, according to them, a doggy daycare. Mm-hmm. That I understand. But you don't start a doggy daycare by taking your dogs that are house dogs and putting them in cages in somebody else's backyard.
Why not?
Or somebody else's space.
Your Honor, that's not necessarily true. We're millennials. When you're boosting a business, you want to use yourself and what you have as advertisement, and that's what they did. So the other dog that they did have was a friend, and the friend was actually paying for that dog to stay there. So it did deem it a business at that time.
You still haven't answered my question as to why their 6 pit bulls were in cages when they were formerly house dogs for a month.
Your Honor, the gentleman to my left did not allow them they didn't have access to what they paid for.
Just a second. Are you telling me that for a month they didn't have access for the dog? You just told me that you would go there and help them clean up.
To the inside of the building that was promised
I'm not
to them?
talking about the inside of the building.
Okay.
And the
Pay clear.
We got the whole yard.
Pay careful.
Junkyard inside the building.
They're not hearing all of you, and you're not answering my question. The 3 of you went there for what purpose on July 5th?
To feed and clean up after the dogs.
How'd you spend the weekend with them?
I was there.
I'm not speaking to you.
Denise and Deborah Carter claim their former landlord, Charles Ashley, broke an agreement to store their dogs. They also claim he assaulted them. Charles claims he was the one who was assaulted.
Okay, if I was starting a doggy daycare business and I had house dogs, my little Shih Tzus, running around the house where they have been for years, I would not take them and put them in cages in a back vacant lot in order to demonstrate that I had a business.
My dogs
just a
slept in
second.
the house. They slept in the house. They didn't roam in like your little Shih Tzus. They didn't do that.
Just a
Those are
second. You
pit bulls.
told me that they stayed in your house.
I said they slept in the house, in a cage, in an area.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I'm saying. I don't understand how you could take your pets.
But they stayed outside.
Because we were offering other things. We wanted to have one.
All right, let's get to the assault. I'm not interested in this. Now,
Your Honor, I have the lease here. I'm paying the owner $4,000 a month.
He lied to the loaner and said he wasn't going to do any sublease, and he subleased
the only thing I'm interested in is the only thing I'm interested in is the assault. So, Priscilla, don't speak. The 3 of you went there for what purpose on July 5th?
To feed and clean up after the dogs.
Okay, and you had done that before?
Yes.
And when you got there on July 5th, was that over a holiday weekend?
Yes, it was.
It was a Tuesday.
It was a Tuesday, so July 4th was on a Monday.
Yeah.
How'd you spend the weekend with them?
I was there.
I'm not speaking to you. Had you spent the weekend with them?
No. Yeah.
Okay, you say yes, she says no. I'm not asking you a question. Do you understand? So you spent July 4th.
Go ahead.
You spent July 4th with them. Is either yes or no?
No.
When did you meet them on July 5th?
Around the morning.
Around what time?
11 a.m.
You're asking me with a question.
11 a.m.
I don't know if it was 11. I'm asking you.
11 a.m.
Did you have a discussion with them?
Regarding
the dogs, what you were going to do that day?
Of course, we always have discussions about what we're going to do during the day.
When you spoke to Deborah, did you ask her when she had last seen the dogs?
No.
No, you did not. Deborah, to July 5th, when had you last seen the dogs?
July 4th.
What time?
It was about 5 o'clock. I was in there, cleaned them up. He came, locked me in for 4 hours.
Okay, so on July 4th, you were in there feeding the dogs.
Yeah.
And July 5th, you went back in the morning again to feed the dogs. Mm-hmm. Is not an answer.
Yeah.
Now, tell me what happened when you got there on July 5th.
On July 5th, when we went inside to feed the dogs, I went to go turn on the water hose, and I noticed that the water would not come out. That's when they were in the kennels feeding the dogs, and I told Carter that, hey, the water's not on. So the door to the building was open. I believe they both stepped in. When they stepped in, there was like verbal altercation.
So when they stepped in, you heard that there was someone else in the building?
Yeah.
Okay, and that would have been you, sir?
Yes.
On the 5th?
Yes, me and another friend of mine.
Okay, and what were you doing in the building on July 5th?
It was about 6 o'clock that evening. My friend came by the house. He's a general contractor, and I'm renovating the building to set it up for business. So I said, come on, let me take you up here, show you the building. I need your help. We get up there. I open the gate, go in, leave the gate unlocked, and we walk through the building. When I come around, they are in the building.
All three of them or just one?
All three of them.
Had you turned the water off to the hose outside?
No.
Do you
I used
know?
to water the dogs when they didn't come because they'd be barking. So, and the neighbors next door, I just moved in, Your Honor. I don't want to make no enemies. That's why I told them I'm not taking no more rent from you. Get the dogs out.
Okay.
I tell them you trespass.
Just a second. So now you went inside, or the Carter sisters went inside.
Yeah, I stood
You
by.
heard some noise. Did you go into the building?
Yes.
Okay. And what happened when you went into the building?
When I went into the building, he immediately got very frustrated and said, what are you guys doing here? Why are you here? You need to get off my property, get off my property. They're like, we paid you. We have an agreement. And next thing you know, he pushed Deborah Carter. He pushed her. And then that's when Denise Carter got in the middle and said, no, you're not, don't put your hands on my sister. The situation ensued. The gentleman that was inside stopped everything and walked him out of the building. And as he's walking him out of the building, and we're walking out behind him so that we can try to figure out what's going on with the water, her foot in the door and tries to lock her in and pushes her. And that's when they started pushing on the door because at this point he's trying to lock them in.
Lock them in the building?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
When they actually, the gentleman stopped him and the door opened, I seen what type of altercation it was. I didn't want anything to do with it. So at that point, nobody was injured? No.
Okay, so now you're outside.
Now we're outside.
Okay, and you're outside in the back area where the dogs are.
Correct.
Tell me what happened next.
So as we're walking, I'm walking fast because I noticed that he's walking fast, and I'm like, you're not about to lock me in here. You already.
You mean lock you in the
yard?
So you got out of the yard.
Yes, he tried to close the yard gate on us, which is a really big, tall, black gate. And as soon as he tried to close it, it just an altercation, a verbal altercation started. He didn't like what was said. I was on the left-hand side.
Tell me what the altercation was.
Everything was said about the business, that they were going to speak to the owner, that, he still owed them. Everything was said about the business, that they were going to speak to the owner, that, he still owed them money if he wanted them to move out for the rest of the month, that he could just give them the money or whatever and they'll leave. It wasn't a problem.
By the way, I am looking at your lease, and you did lease the premises from June of 2022 to May 31st, 2025. at a monthly rent of $4,000. Are you still paying rent to the owner of the building?
Yes, ma'am.
You have to remove your dogs there.
He's not paying rent. He has an eviction notice too. He owes $4,000. I have a picture of it.
He's lying.
He hasn't paid rent.
When was
Nothing
He
else
hasn't
he's
paid
saying
rent
is true.
this month or last month. He got the eviction last month on the 11th.
Okay. Right now, he has not been evicted from the property. Is that correct, or have you?
Right.
I just paid him yesterday.
Why did you say you?
Just a second. Oh, I'm asking a simple question. I have before me, ladies, pay attention. I have before me a lease that gives him 3/4 of the building and the backyard. Until he's evicted, until this lease is deemed void, you have to remove your dogs within 24 hours of today.
Why?
I am evicting you with a marshal tomorrow. Get your dogs out of there. He has medical records that he received 5 staples in the top of his head. And that's not something he did to himself.
That happened.
That's not something he... Get up, stand up. Where do you think that you are?
Denise and Deborah Carter have accused their former landlord, Charles Ashley, of breaking their agreement and assaulting them. Charles claims Denise and Deborah attacked him first.
Okay, we're going to get back to this assault because I have other things to do today. You're outside. The gate that he's tried to cross has opened up again. And
He got really angry. He was saying a lot of curse words, you know, you need to remove all your, you know what, if you don't remove it, I'm going to remove it for you type stuff. And after that, he swung with his right hand and it connected with my face. After that, he started punching on all of us, so we had to defend ourselves and fight back.
And then an altercation got started, and everybody was fighting with everybody. So it was the three of you and him.
Yes. That's
Okay.
correct.
Did you go to a doctor?
No, but I was.
Did you, just a second. Did you take photographs of your face?
No.
What about you? Deborah, were you hit by the defendant?
Yes, I was.
Where were you hit by the
My face and my
Did you-
foot. No pictures, and I didn't go to the doctor. I self-healed.
Good. And what about you, Miss Carter? Where were you hit?
Doctor. I had to go to the ER because I had to get stitches. I had 9 stitches.
Okay.
And-
Well, tell me about the stitches. That's what I want to know. How did the cut that required the stitches take place?
When he was attacking us, he was swinging on me, and he had a blade in his hand, and I thought he was punching me, but really when I was blocking myself, he was taking.
That was the second occurrence, because after the first one, we tried to leave the situation. He was upset and put out a knife.
We thought
and
we were
attacked
leaving,
us
yeah.
with
He
the
just
knife.
came back with the knife, and
Now I'd like to see the records.
here's the knife records, and then here's the police records on when he was arrested, and that's just like my stitches and what doctor I went to and like my medication.
Okay. Now I'm going to take a look. Okay, Mr. Ashley, the only thing that I actually want to know about from you is there's no question in my mind that the plaintiff did not cut herself. No question. I want to know how she got cut.
I don't know, sir, Your Honor. I didn't even have a wallet on me. I'm 75 years old. I wouldn't even argue with her. I went to the back door, the gate, and they had a trash can where they had propped it open. So I went to move the trash can, and that's when this one hit me and knocked me down. And when I was coming up, Deborah hit me in the head with a 2x4. And blood just went everywhere.
Did you go to the doctor?
Yes.
I'd like to see your report.
It's in the record.
Your Honor, I have a video of what happened. I could just solve this right now.
Oh, I'd like to see it.
Okay.
Do you have it through the assault? I'm just interested in the assault.
It's just the assault.
Just the assault.
Yeah, it's just press
I'd like
play
to
right
see it.
here. Okay, if you press play, you'll see him slamming us out.
I don't see any assault.
Well, yeah, but I tell you, my phone fell out the hand.
Well,
I'm just saying
then
that
don't show me what I can't see. All I know is he has medical records that he received 5 staples in the top of his head on that date. And that's not something he did to himself.
No.
Get up, stand up.
He
Where do you
did do
think
that.
you are? You think he did that to himself?
Yes, do you see the tire behind him? He just fell over it.
That's
and
exactly
all
what
that
happened.
wood behind him, he fell on that stuff.
Listen to me. Blunt head trauma, which is what
They
the
knocked
emergency,
me down.
which is what the
You knocked
emergency.
yourself down.
Okay.
You attacked us.
You
You're
have-
attacking us in pleasure.
okay.
Listen to me. Listen to me carefully.
right.
You have now sit. You have 24 hours to get your dogs out of that yard. Services to them that they signed up for the wedding. They gave you $2,000, and the wedding was supposed to be held where?
The banquet hall.
Did you send them a deposit?
No, because at that time she had not paid enough money.
Just a second. The answer is no. You had not sent them a deposit.
No.
Had they sent you the deposit of $2,000?
They sent me the deposit for our planning fee, yes.
I'm talking about for your planning fee, $2,000.
Yes.
And how much was the deposit for?
50% of $16,000, which was $8,000.
And where is the invoice for that you sent them?
I don't have that invoice because she was not able to secure the venue.
I read it. And from what I read in your complaint, the original venue that you secured, according to you, was rendered unavailable because of a broken pipe.
That was the second venue. We went through 3 venues. The first venue, she lost that venue because she could not keep up with the payments and did not submit money for a deposit. The second venue was the R&R Event Center. That venue she lost because a pipe broke in the venue.
Okay,
and
just
then I was
a
forced-
second. R&R.
Event Center.
And when was that taken?
That was booked on March 11th, 2022. And I do have the invoice for that.
And how much was it?
$2,250.
Okay, that's much better than $8,000. Okay. Did she put in a deposit?
Deposit was made from the monthly payments that she makes towards her wedding.
Show me invoices that you sent her every month.
Yes, I have that.
Well, I'd like to see them.
This is the statement of the account. It lists all the invoices that she was sent on a monthly basis.
So she paid you the $20,000 that was invoiced.
Her wedding cost a total of $2,681.
No, that's not what I said. Opening balance was zero. Invoiced $20,451.50. Paid $19,356.57. That's what this says. Uncross your arms.
Correct. No, that's
Okay.
That's
So
correct.
she paid for everything. Now,
No, she didn't pay for everything because, as I just stated, her wedding cost a total of $23,681.
let's go back to, because I see that we're not getting anywhere. Before her wedding, before anything happened, before she said, I do, and before he says, I take you, she paid practically $20,000, which was your original estimate and her budget for the wedding. There's just a second. That's either a yes or a no. Before the wedding, your original budget that you were given by the defendant, I read the papers, was $20,000.
So, and as
that's either a yes, I read the papers, or a no.
Yes, that is the budget she stated she would like to stay around. But however, in planning a wedding, you cannot give an exact of how it's going to cost.
I didn't say that. I didn't.
So
Madam, pay careful attention to me. I've made 16 weddings. I've had 16 event planners. I know exactly how it works, and I know exactly that you can't always predict to the $100 or $50 or sometimes $500 how much more the wedding is going to cost. It never costs less. That's not what I said to you. I said by the time the wedding took place, she had paid the vast majority of the original amount that she said she wanted to spend for the wedding. And that is accurate. She said she wanted to spend $20,000, but $19,000. Did that include your fee?
No, it didn't.
Just a second. So the answer is no. That's what she wanted to spend, exclusive of your fee.
Correct.
Now, of your fee, she gave you an initial deposit, or they did, of $2,000.
So
that's either a yes or a no. She gave you $2,000. Did she ever pay you the other $2,000 for the fee? And the rest of the expenses that you want are the additional expenses over and above the $20,000 that, stop shaking your head, over and above what she originally said she wanted to spend.
Correct.
Now, I'm going to get to what happened just about a week before the wedding.
Okay.
You had booked a place. She had paid for the place, $2,250.
Yes.
And that was at R&R. According to you, something happened at R&R. Stop shaking your head, it's annoying. Something happened at R&R. Your head, it's annoying. Something happened at R&R. What happened at R&R and when?
Correct. The wedding was scheduled to happen on April 30th.
Tell me what happened at R&R.
I was informed by Rico, the owner, sitting beside that a pipe had busted and the venue would no longer be available for usage on her wedding date.
And on what date was that?
It was around the week before her wedding, or 2 weeks before her wedding, sorry.
Date?
I don't have the exact date.
Own, manage, or what, this R&R?
I'm the owner of R&R Events Center.
Hey, tell me your last name, sir.
Cox, C-O-X.
Do you remember having a conversation with the plaintiff about the venue?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember when it was?
March 25th of 2022.
Can you tell me what you said to her and what she said to you?
We had a conversation. I'm like, hey, problem with my venue. I had a pipe that busted. I won't be able to host her wedding. Reception, I should say. So I informed her I can put her in contact with other venues that I may know, or I could send her back the deposit. She asked for the deposit back. I sent the deposit back probably within the hour.
How much was the deposit? $2,250?
No, ma'am. It was $1,125, which was half.
So 50%?
Yes, ma'am.
So you sent her back the deposit?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you receive the deposit, Ms. Gordon?
Yes, I did.
The wedding wasn't until April 30th. So you had plenty of time. Well, not plenty of time. You had time to look for a new venue, or else they were going to have to change the date.
Correct, and they found
Just
it.
shh. What venue, you can sit down, Mr. Cox, thank you very much. What venue did you select? And had you ever used them before?
No, I had not. I never worked with a challenge budget like this for a venue.
If you don't like the budget, don't take the gig.
Yeah, I won't.
And that's where the reception was held. But that venue was not allowed to have this kind of party.
I was not aware of that until the day of the wedding.
That's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's not their problem. They hired you as an event planner.
They did,
They're
and
just
they got a
checking.
wedding. The wedding went the entire time. The wedding was not closed until after the wedding had already ended. So they used the venue regardless.
Okay. Miss Gordon, it's your job as the event planner, which is what I don't understand you being here. It's your job as the event planner. They don't live in Las Vegas. That's your job to ensure that the place that you select is a venue that's capable of performing the duties that you outlined in your contract, which means they serve food, they're allowed to serve liquor, they're allowed to dance, they're allowed to host an event of how many people?
It was supposed to be 120, but all of my guests didn't get their invitation. So.
Okay, so over 100
Actually,
people.
Your Honor, it wasn't that they were not allowed to have the wedding there. They were allowed to have the wedding there. What they were not allowed to do was the business was not allowed to operate after a certain time, and that is what the business owner produced to us.
Just a second. You want to show me a contract that she
I don't
signed
have-
with that
yes.
business owner? Ms. Gordon?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I would like to see the contract that you signed with this business owner. Sarah, just for my own information, would you look up this venue, please? Tell me what you find.
Sure.
Ms. Gordon, this space was a little less money than the previous space that you had selected.
Correct.
$500, $700?
Yes, and that's because they were not providing all of the things that the original event place was providing.
Was this event space that you booked at the end of the evening, I don't want to use the word raided, closed by the police? That's either a yes. Did the police arrive at this venue?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And what time did the police arrive at the venue?
They arrived at 9:30.
Is there a and how many parties? Is there a police report that anyone has?
No.
And how many parties have you done where police arrived at the end of an evening or in the 2 years that you've been in Las Vegas?
Never.
And the police arrived at this wedding not because anybody was creating a disturbance, there weren't shots fired.
Well, no, that is why.
You may say so, I don't know anything about the venue, but that's your job. You're supposed to know about the venue.
When I told her in the first place that she needed to postpone her wedding, that was my professional
You mean that's
advice.
No, that's not what she hired you for, to tell you to postpone her wedding.
wedding planner, Tara Gordon, claims her former clients, Beatrice Jackson and Nicholas Smith, owe for the balance of their wedding. Beatrice and Nicholas are countersuing for breach of contract.
Okay, police arrived at this wedding not because anybody was creating a disturbance, there weren't shots fired.
Well, no, that is why. They initially had a report because
Well, I don't know that. If you can show it to me,
I don't have the
I'd be
police
more than
report.
happy to look at it. The police showed up.
May I bring my witness up, please?
For what reason?
Because she can attest to the altercation that took place prior, which is why we were even brought up on the radar, because the other businesses in the vicinity of where the business takes place had complained. There was a lot of altercation back and forth outside of the event because she refused to sign the agreed upon payment plan to continue payments after the wedding.
You understand that I'm not particularly sympathetic.
I'm not
I'm letting you know I'm not particularly sympathetic for the following reason. Somebody plans a wedding and has a budget of $20,000 plus your fee, so that's, say, $25,000 that they either put together or are saving up for a wedding, first for each. A week before the wedding, something happens with the venue, where the wedding could not be held at the venue of their choice. They're relying on an out-of-state wedding planner, that's you, to find a legitimate venue that is licensed to have an event. When they get to Las Vegas on the date of the wedding, you present them with a new contract.
No, that is not true. That
Well,
is
when
where
did you
have it incorrect.
just a second. When did you give them, because you saw them, which caused the police to come? Just a second. I don't understand.
Before I selected the very last venue, she was on FaceTime with me, looking at the venue with me, because I informed her I've never worked with this venue. I don't know anything about her, that the best thing for her is to postpone her wedding. She was already behind in payments. This is her third venue.
Just a second, she paid you almost the entire $20,000.
She paid it in March. In March.
Doesn't matter. She paid you almost the entire
30 days before her wedding. That's what you're not hearing.
I'm not looking at you. Before her wedding, she paid you almost the entire amount of the $20,000 that she originally gave you as a budget before the wedding.
If you look at the contract, it says that you're going to make monthly payments so that we can adequately plan your wedding. You booked me back in 2021, almost a year before your wedding. The wedding was to be planned over the course of that year. The initial venue that I have worked with, that I know is reputable, she ended up not paying the deposit on time, so they had to move forward with another date. After that, I didn't get any payments from her until March, when she got her tax return. And then at that time, I was forced with less than 60 days to try to find another venue, in which I did, which was our event space, and then a pipe busted in that, and then I was forced to find another venue for her. I told her back in January, the top of the year, you need to postpone your wedding. Before invitations went out, before of all of that, when she was having troubles with her payment plan, I advised her as a professional, I think you should postpone your wedding date.
You may talk a lot, but the bottom line is you're the expert. Uncross your arms. You're the expert. You're trying to talk over me? You're trying to talk over me?
No, I'm not.
Good. So you're the expert. She's out of town. The reason that she selects a wedding planner in Las Vegas is because you're supposed to know whether or not the venue that you recommend is able to take care of the party you book. You may say to her, I don't uncross. You may say to her, I don't know anything about the venue, but that's your job. You're supposed to know about the venue.
When I told her in the first place that she needed to postpone her wedding, that was my professional advice.
No, that's not what she hired you for, to tell you to postpone her wedding. She hired you to plan her wedding, not to give her advice whether or not. You're trying to talk over me. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. You have to understand there are certain things that you did. You got out the invitations. That's a great thing. I assume you got a DJ. That's great. All of those things. The wedding itself, to me, was problematic. If my wedding ended with the police coming to the venue, and it turned out that the venue was one where you weren't allowed to have that kind of an event, I would be annoyed at the wedding.
They were allowed
just
to have a wedding.
No, they weren't. The police officer.
The contract clearly states that.
I don't care what it states.
That's not what the police officer said.
I don't care what it
spoke to them? No,
I don't
you
care what it
escorted out.
states. You started to tell me before that the reason the police came there is because there was an altercation about you giving her another contract on that date, and there were words outside, and people were complaining, other people who were in the area.
That's not what I said.
What did you say?
The night before her wedding, I explained to her.
I want to know what's happened on the date of the wedding. Just a second.
Can you let me finish so I can
No,
articulate?
I want you to go because I have a limited amount of time and I'm getting very old. I thought what you said to me, and you're going to read this back, is that the reason the police were drawn to the venue is because of the arguments outside.
Correct.
Let's read that
That's
back.
what I just said.
That was on the date of the wedding.
Correct.
You got married, and you're happy, and you had people at the wedding.
She got a free wedding.
And you
$2,000.
you're almost done. Do you understand? You're almost finished. Go ahead.
We were brought up on the radar because the other businesses in the vicinity where the event took place had complained. There was a lot of altercation back and forth outside of the event because she didn't agree to sign the payment plan.
Okay. So the reason that you said, let's go back, that the police came to the venue and then shut it down because it wasn't allowed to be used for what it was used for was because there were altercations about this second contract.
No, that's not the contract we were having an altercation about. That's what I'm trying to
Oh, just a
explain to
second.
you.
On the day of the wedding, Miss Gordon, did you present her with a new contract to sign? That's either a yes or a no.
Yes, I did. For the venue. That's
It's not for the venue. I didn't say it was
Okay,
for the venue.
yes.
On the day of her wedding, did you present her with a new contract? The answer is yes.
Yes.
You said you had discussed that with her the night before?
Correct.
And uncross.
Oh, sorry.
And the night before, did she agree to sign?
Yes, she
Just a
did.
second. A new contract?
Yes, she did.
Okay. And the new contract provided for what?
The new contract that she was supposed to sign
Provided for what?
provided for the remainder balance of the $23,681 that her wedding actually cost. Because she had only paid $19,000, you have the sheet, so I don't have the
have it,
exact number. but
19,356.57.
Correct. So since paid that amount and the total expenses for her wedding were $23,681. So
Okay,
the
and
night
so what-
before she
so
agreed
what-
to make a payment plan with me to extend her payments beyond her wedding date to pay off this remaining balance.
And is that what she agreed to on the phone? Is that what you're saying to me?
Correct.
She agreed with
She
you
agreed
on.
if we-
Shh. She agreed on the phone to pay you the additional $3,500 or $4,000, and she agreed to pay it over time.
Correct.
Friday night.
Correct.
And then she got to the wedding.
Correct.
And at what point did you present her with the new contract? At what point in the event?
Upon her arrival to the reception venue.
Now, what happened when you got to the reception venue? You'd already gotten through the ceremony, so you're already married. What time did you get to reception?
So the reception was supposed to start at 5. It was supposed to start at 5, but when we got there, she wasn't even done decorating. All of my family stayed outside for another hour, including my grandmother, my grandpa. We waited in cars. Okay.
I said it was supposed to start at 5.
At 5.
This venue that I have here someplace, you have it?
I think it was supposed to start at 5:30 and end at 10:30 per the contract.
Okay, thank you. Was it supposed to start at 5:30?
Yes.
What happened at 5:30, Miss Gordon?
I presented her with the contract, and then she refused to sign it. Her guests were waiting outside because she was refusing to sign it. When she refused to sign it, because our agreement was she was going to sign the agreement before we started the reception. When she said that she did not want to start the reception, I responded and I said, we will pack all of this up and my staff and I will leave because now we're not being paid for our services.
What time did the police arrive? I'm telling you, I would be furious if I spent $20,000 for a wedding and my evening ended by the police having my guests leave. Furious.
Wedding planner Tara Gordon has accused her former clients, Beatrice Jackson and Nicholas Smith, of refusing to pay the remaining wedding balance. Beatrice and Nicholas claim Tara booked an illegal venue for their reception.
So, what time did the police arrive?
The police arrived at 9:30.
And did the police tell everyone to leave?
Yes, they did.
And told everyone that they had to leave?
They arrived and they told me that everyone had to leave.
Whether they told you or whether
Yes.
they told them. They
Yes.
said the place had to be cleared.
Correct.
And that was an hour before the termination of the event.
So at the end of the event was...
The event was supposed to end at 10. Police arrived at 9:30. That's according to you. That's an hour short of the event time she was supposed to have at the venue.
No, the event was supposed to end at 9:30. This is her timeline of events that was supposed to take place.
This is the contract.
That's the time that I have the venue too. I have to clean up. The agreed upon timeline is here. The wedding was supposed to end at 9:30, giving me an hour to clean up.
I'll take a look at what you have. I'm just telling you that this is the signed contract.
That's signed between me and the venue because they were giving me an extra hour to clean up.
That doesn't say that in here.
Because I booked it for a timeline. I booked it from 5:30 to 10:30. I outlined everything that takes place. It ended at the last song of the night was at 9:30. And she went through the last song. We made it through the last song of the night on time.
Could I take a look at that?
I just can't wait till it's my turn.
Well, the last song of the night was supposed to start at 9:30.
Yes, and it started earlier because we made it through and she was done dancing. And by the time the police came, it was just mingling and dancing going on. So she had made it through her entire wedding reception is what I'm trying to state.
Cox.
Please.
Hey, Your Honor, I'm back. That's not true. The police actually came at 9 o'clock and...
Were you there?
I was the DJ.
You were the DJ?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
That didn't get paid.
Don't.
Oh, he got paid.
Don't.
He got paid.
Speak. So the police arrived at 9 o'clock.
That's correct.
And what happened when they arrived, Mr. Cox?
So
By the way, did you know them before the wedding?
No, ma'am.
Did you know her before the wedding?
Just conversation that we had via Facebook or telephone.
No, he did not know me
So no.
prior to the
I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to him. She booked your services.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much were your services for the night?
My DJing services were $500.
Were you paid?
No, ma'am.
What happened when the police arrived?
The police came, asked everyone to leave.
Do you know anything about this venue space that took place?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about it.
It's a storefront.
So are a lot of venues in Las Vegas.
Your case is dismissed. Do you understand? This is not a free-for-all. As far as I'm concerned, you got almost exactly what her budget called for. I have one vendor that wasn't paid.
Because she didn't pay. It's clear.
Well, how do I know that you paid the other vendors? At least I know one vendor that you didn't pay, and she paid almost $20,000.
They got paid because, okay.
I have two things. I have one vendor that's here that wasn't paid. You were paid almost $20,000. The balance, part of it, is for your fee. Part of it is
My
for...
fee was not...
Are you saying that part of this money that you're suing for, this $4,000, was not part of your fee?
The $4,000 that I'm suing for is part of my fee.
Of course, that's what I said. So part of that money was for your fee, and part of it was for vendors. I have one vendor here who says he wasn't paid.
Well, I have receipts from other vendors if you like to see.
No, I know you had a lot of vendors, but you didn't pay him. He's the only
I didn't pay him
body.
because she didn't pay me. It's clear. She didn't pay me enough money to pay her venue. I have here proof of how much every item in her wedding cost, which exceeded the $19,000 that she paid. Clearly, she owes more money. That's the facts of the matter. She owes more money to
She's
what her wedding cost.
She's countersuing you for ruining her wedding because you booked it at a venue that wasn't allowed to have a wedding. She's got a counterclaim for far more than your claim. Bottom line is, she picked a wedding planner, she picked a venue, she tacitly approved this change of venue. Both of you had to at the last minute, but you did that relying on the wedding planner to find a venue that was capable to hold the event, and it wasn't. It wasn't. That's your job. Your job is to find an appropriate place so that the police don't raid a wedding a half hour before it's over. That's not the way a wedding is supposed to end. So what I want you to tell me is you're suing her for $4,300. How much of that $4,300 is your fee?
$2,000.
And you didn't pay him?
No.
So that's 24 minus $500. You didn't pay him because you have to pay him.
I paid him.
Part
Well,
of
he's
it
already
was to
paid.
pay him.
I'm deducting it.
Okay.
I'm not paying you for your fee. You booked the wrong space fee. So far, I have $18.25. Other than the DJ, who else didn't you pay? I'm very clear.
Can I?
Other than the DJ, he's going to tell me, the DJ is going to tell me, other than the DJ, who else didn't you pay? Mr. Cox, could you stand up, please? You seem to want to tell me something, and since you didn't know either one of these parties, I'm going to let you tell me. Do you know any vendor other than you who wasn't paid?
The bartender also was not paid.
Bartender.
That's correct.
Which is his wife.
That's correct.
I don't care. Well, there's a big place, but where do you live, in what state?
Minnesota.
In Minnesota.
Yeah.
Well, there's a big difference between Texas and Minnesota. And also, there's only 2 months between April, when school is still in session, and June, when it's over.
Yes, I know this.
Yeah, you know this. You're aware of this.
Yes.
Okay. I set this up because I really want to find out what I'm dealing with here. Now, I sort of know. In any event, you had no place to go. Your brother contacted you. You contacted him, and he invited you to come and live with him.
Yes, he did. And
all right. Your 3 children.
Nope.
You and your 3 children.
Nope. Just me and my 2 boys.
So you were going to live with your brother and his girlfriend with your 2 children.
Yes.
You got there when?
October.
Of 2021.
Yes.
Case is relatively simple. Case involves your claim that they have property, that they have a cross complaint that they probably would not have brought, but for the fact that you're suing them. Because I think that they're just happy that you're gone. You moved in with them in October of 2021 and paid no regular rent.
The agreement between me and my brother was to buy food for the house and to give him money when I can.
Okay, now you weren't working. Now you weren't working, so how are you going to buy food for the house?
I was on assistance through Minnesota, so I got SNAP.
So you got food stamps?
Yes, and then I had child support. Well, I was on child support, but I wasn't getting the money. I didn't start getting money until February of 2022. And that's when I start giving him
Just
money
a second.
every so often.
In October of 2021, you were not getting child support.
No.
You were getting food stamps,
Yes.
which you said you would share with your brother.
Yep.
Who lives, not yep is not an answer, who lives with his girlfriend, and how many children?
We have no children.
No children at all.
We have dogs.
That's fine. So you were sharing some of your food stamps with your brother and his girlfriend.
All of my food stamps went to the house.
Well, that's where you were living.
Yep. Yes, it was.
Yes, that's where you were living with your 2 children.
Yes.
Okay. What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm currently unemployed.
And what does your girlfriend do?
She works cleaning service.
Okay. Now, there came a time that you got a substantial amount of money from the government. What month and year was that?
Just this past April.
How much did you get from the government?
It was taxes.
What kind of taxes? You haven't worked in 5 years.
It was the child tax credit, and I did work when I moved back from Texas.
You told me you hadn't worked in 5 years. I want to know what you got money from the federal government for. That's what your brother says. And I was curious, that's why I asked you the questions about working.
It is.
So don't make it up.
It slipped my mind.
What?
I'm sorry.
So that doesn't slip your mind.
I did housekeeping, laundry, in a hotel when I moved back from Texas with my mother.
Month? You worked from June 2021 until, we'll find out.
Until like mid-June because I did not have a babysitter for my children.
So you worked for a couple of weeks?
Yes.
How much money did you from the federal government in April of
from the government
in April of 2022?
Like $11,000
from working, not the
credit.
So you got $11,000, not from working. Not that it slipped your mind, because 2 weeks may slip your mind because that's what you worked if you worked at all. $11,000. You got child care credits. How much did you get for each of your 3?
I only filed for 2 of my children.
How much did you get for the 2 boys?
I believe $3,000 for each of them.
That's $6,000. Where's the other 5?
That came to me for the stimulus checks because I did not receive the last stimulus check. They said that my boys did not receive the refund that was coming to them for the stimulus too. So that was all.
So your boys got. Let me understand. Let me understand why this country is in such a fiscal morass today. So you got $3,000 for child care credit for each of your children, and the other $5,000 came because you went to an accounting firm, and they said, well, you should have gotten stimulus money for your boys.
Yes.
And you missed that, so we're going to put in for it. So they sent you another 5, or they sent you...
They sent it all together on one.
Okay, all together on one. So that you had plenty of time to go and take care of.
Yes.
Right.
Your judge actually have proof of how much she did get.
Now, when you got this $11,000, that $11,000 was supposed to help get you through COVID.
Yes.
Paying your bills, paying for rent, buying clothes for your children. So you got this money in April of 2022, $11,400. Okay. And then you went on vacation. In what month and year did you go on vacation?
April of 2022.
So the minute you got the money, according to you,
I start looking for a vehicle.
You bought a car?
I started looking for a vehicle.
So you started to look. Now, you've been without a car for a while, but you started looking for a car.
Yep.
And also in April, you asked your friend, your brother's girlfriend, if she would watch your 2 children.
Me and her had a discussion before April.
You didn't go until after you got the money.
Yes.
You knew you were getting the money before April because you were going to apply for it.
Yes.
Yes.
But when I got the thing where it said I was getting the money back, it didn't say that much.
$11,400. So you decided to go on vacation. Where did you go?
I went to Colorado.
Where in Colorado?
Up in the Denver area.
How did you get there?
I was with a friend. They drove.
Male or female friend?
Male.
So you went with a male friend to Colorado for how long?
I was there for a week.
What does this friend do for a living?
I'm not really sure.
You don't know whether this friend works or not?
I met him last year, and I kept in contact with him throughout the whole year. And then we just got back in contact beginning of 2022.
And you don't know what he does for a living?
I'm not really sure what he was doing for work.
You have no right to give away any of her property, whether you think somebody deserves it more than she deserves it. That doesn't require an answer. I'm telling you what the rule is.
Alyssa Bolio claims her brother, Jordan Thompson, and his girlfriend, Carmela Turturelli, owe for the value of her personal belongings.
Okay, so you went away for a week, and according to what I read, you made arrangements with your friend, your brother's girlfriend, to take care of your 2 children, and you agreed to pay her $400 for the week.
Yes.
And then you went away for the week in April. Did you come back after a week?
Yes, I did.
On what date did you return?
The Saturday right before Easter.
Date?
April 19th, Your Honor.
And then what happened?
I came home and I talked...
April 19th?
Yep, I came home on April 19th and I talked to my brother and Carmela. I stayed at the house for a little while because my boys were not there when I got home.
What a little while?
I stayed at the house for maybe 2 hours and got all my stuff into the house, and my boys were not there. So I believe I went to my sister's house and to my mother's house, and I did not know where my boys were.
Just a second. If your 2 boys weren't in the house...
I had asked them where they were.
You asked them where you were and they...
No, I asked them where my children were, and they said that they had went with their father.
So you knew where they were?
When I got home, I knew where they were. I didn't know that they had left previous to me arriving home.
When you got home from being away with a new friend in Denver, and you said, where are my boys? Duh, where are my boys? They're with their dad. So you went to your sister and mother's house, and then what happened?
And then the next morning, we left to the cities, and
the next morning?
On Easter Sunday.
On Easter Sunday, who's we?
Me and the friend.
What friend?
My friend that I went to Denver with.
So you went where?
Minneapolis.
How far was that?
4-hour drive.
You intend to stay over there?
No. We were going to go visit some of his friends and then come back. But next thing I remember was waking up in the hospital. And I contacted my brother when I did.
You have the hospital records?
No, I do not. I contacted them.
You have, just a second, you have an admission record?
No.
Do you have a bill from them?
No, because I don't get billed.
Of course you get bills. When you leave the hospital, they say either you owe us this amount of money, that's what you get when you're discharged from the hospital. You may not be able to get hospital records, but it would certainly be interesting, madam, for me to know what the next thing I knew after you were going with your friend to the cities to see some of his friends. You don't know anything until after you wake up in a hospital. Wouldn't
As
you be
soon as I woke
concerned?
up, I contacted my brother.
What date?
I'm not sure. I don't remember exact dates.
I mean, you have 3 children. What do you mean you don't know what date?
I don't know the exact dates, but I did contact him as soon as I was able to, because I did not have my own phone.
Don't you see how irresponsible this whole story is for a person who has 3?
Yes.
How totally irresponsible it is. And what is sad about it is you appear to be an intelligent person who just seems to go from one place to another based upon, well, I used to know him in Texas, I used to know him in Colorado, I used to know him here. I'll leave my 2 boys with Camilla.
And we don't have no children, so we're taking care of her children while she's out running around doing whatever.
I didn't ask you anything. Okay. I can actually visualize the picture, and sadly, so can you. What date did she finally contact you after she disappeared again?
So after a Thursday after Easter Sunday.
The Thursday after Easter Sunday, so that's the
21st of April is the Thursday after Easter this year.
It was actually Monday, the 25th.
We got records.
That's when I came home.
I don't care. I just want to know when you showed up again.
I contacted my brother, and I let him know what had happened. And then he was asking about our father, like I was supposed to go pick up our father.
I don't care. Let's get to the lawsuit. Now that I understand the characters that I'm dealing with, it is your claim that your brother and or his girlfriend took some of your property, didn't give you all your property that you should have had, because they finally said, we've had enough of you and your shenanigans. Goodbye.
I did not start leaving the house until that April. I've asked them maybe to watch him overnight a couple times, but that's it.
I don't care. They had enough of you. You didn't pay rent. They could say to you, goodbye. We tried to do our best. You took advantage of us. Goodbye. Now, that being said, you stayed with them for how many months and didn't pay them any rent, any utilities? How many months? You and your boys?
4.
4 months.
Because I started paying my brother in February.
Paying him what?
Money. I gave him money.
No, I don't want to know who gave him money. Rent. I know that at your age, maybe you think you're too young. Maybe you're too young. They either rent their house, they have a mortgage on their house, they have things that they have to pay.
We did not agree upon a set amount for every month. We did not agree upon
don't you think you should agree on a certain amount every month? You just came into $11,000.
And it was actually way more than 4 months.
You just came into $11,000. You've been living off somebody else's largesse. You just came into $11,000 that I gave you, or they gave you, but you certainly didn't work for. So you say to at least the person who you're staying with, listen, I'm going to give you a couple of $100s a month just to cover my share of the expenses because you're 2 people and we're 3.
I gave him $400 when I got my taxes. As soon as I got it, I gave him money.
Did you pay Camilla for watching the children?
Yes, I did.
$400?
Yes.
Okay. Did she pay you?
Yes.
She says in her complaint that you sold a computer of hers. She says you felt money because you actually watched the children for a longer period of time than the week that she paid you for when she doesn't remember where she was. Did you sell her computer?
I actually gave it away.
No, I don't believe that.
I did. And it's not
Well, why
her
would you
computer.
give it away? That's just spiteful.
Because it was family, and...
What do you mean it was family?
It was family.
I am not your family.
I don't want you to speak. You have no right to give her things away.
It wasn't hers, and I have proof right here.
Whose was it?
Yeah. Who knows? I guess her friends.
That doesn't matter. It was in her possession.
It was in our possession, actually.
It was. She left it with us when she left.
I left it at the house.
No. That you may think is in your possession.
She asked me to sell it for her.
just said. Isn't that what she just said?
It is what she just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sell my computer for me, and you decided not to sell it, but just to give it to somebody else in the family who could better benefit from it. You got to pay for the computer. Period.
She owed me money.
Period.
I have the evidence.
Just a second.
Okay.
Just a second. That's a different story. Camilla, let me tell you something, sir. You look like a very nice guy. You look like a very nice guy. I would unload her as fast as I could.
Oh.
I'm just telling you.
Wow.
I'm just telling you. Because first she says, I gave it away. Let's understand what she says. First she said, I gave it away. Then she said, she told me to sell it, right?
Yes.
Then she said, I gave it to somebody who I thought could use it better than she was using it. Now, I'm going to ask you, Kevin, to go get the 2 pieces of paper that she wants me to review that she owed her money, and then I'm going to explain to your lovely Camilla, listen to me, sir,
I'm listening.
who I would think twice about. Well, I don't see anything about a computer here. I see that you wanted them to sell your TV,
Yes.
jacket, and all of this is so that you can get him out of jail.
Yes.
Oh. I didn't see anything about the computer. I see the TV, I see a jacket.
Here, it's right here.
Just a second. It's not in the ones you gave me, but I'm glad you gave that to me because I have some indication that she did, in fact, ask you to start selling stuff because this is the same person that you went to the cities with.
Yes, and...
yes, when you forgot where you were and woke up in a hospital.
Yes.
Okay, found someone who wants that digital graphic computer. So can you put it in the living room or by my door? So you were going to sell your digital computer.
Yes.
Was it his computer?
It was, but he had given it to me.
So you wanted to sell it?
Yes.
And you say, I'm not giving it to you until you pay me what you owe me for childcare, because you felt as if she should pay you more money because you watched the children longer than a week.
And there's a couple other reasons.
And
She owed me
whatever, and a
but
pair
she
of
owed me-
shoes. I don't care anything about that. You have a bill for the computer?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. No, I don't like this because the date was changed. The date the order was placed was to April 18th, 2022. So this is not a legitimate, it may be a legitimate price, but it says order placed on April 18th, 2022. You want to take a look at that? Because that's phony. Somebody changed that. No, somebody changed it.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
When did you get it?
I got it in April.
I don't believe this. Take a look. When did he go to jail?
The 25th
Of
April.
what?
Of April.
And you left on vacation with him when?
A week before Easter, so I'm not really sure.
A week before Easter, Sarah. What's the date?
The week before Easter, the previous April 10th.
April 10th. And you were away for a week.
Yes.
And then you don't remember where you were?
No, that was the second week.
That was the second week?
Yes. I was in Colorado for the full week, and I came back the day before Easter, and then I left on Easter Day, and then
And when did you get this computer? You see, that's what I'm asking you. When could you possibly have gotten this computer if the bill...
This is dated the 18th, I believe they said was the day she came back.
When could you have possibly gotten it from him?
I ordered it for him. I paid for it, and then he gave it to me.
Listen, I suggest you both get your acts together. You get nothing from your brother. Just consider yourself very, very lucky that he took care of you and that he let you come into his house. I would suggest you not do it again, and maybe she'll get smart. She has 3 children. She'd like to raise them together. She should get a job. Find a way of figure it out. Because you made 3 children, they have a right to a certain amount of stability.